Hello, everybody, and welcome to Crystal Heart Radio. My name is Caroline Crystal Hart, founder of Crystal Heart Radio. Sorry about that. Okay, we're back in business. Hello. Welcome, everybody. My name is Caroline Crystal Hart, founder of Crystal Heart Radio, Crystal Heart Psychics, and the wider Crystal Heart ecosystem. So tonight's show has been a little bit tricky because we were just actually testing the live stream ability, which we now have, which is fantastic. So who am I? Well, I'm a psychic medium. I work with my guides. I'm also clairvoyant, which means I get pictures in my head in symbolization form. I'm a qualified life coach and healer. I'm also an NLP master practitioner and a CBT therapist, and I have many other holistic qualifications. So what is Crystal Heart Radio and the wider Crystal Heart ecosystem? Well, I've been working professionally as a psychic medium for 20 years now, since 2006. And I've actually been a live call-in host for a number of years now. So, and with the advent of Blog Talk Radio closing and also Podbean Live closing, I decided that I actually wanted to set up my own radio station, which I have. Now, obviously, it is a niche in the sense it's for psychic readings. However, we do have a wider ecosystem. And I'm just going to explain this to you all out there. So Crystal Heart Radio, the way it works is, yes, we can do podcasts. We have a huge RSS feed distribution as well. But as I was a show host, the very thing was we would do the show and we would actually get to a point where it was, find me on this website over here. And if you want to donate to me, then you need to have another link here. And I'm sure many of you shared that frustration, because what happens is the callers call in, you then think, okay, I'm showcasing who I am as a psychic medium. They may call me at another point using my own website and using, my PayPal or whatever you choose to get. So for me, where the frustration was, is I actually said, well, hang on a second. What I would like is to do my live call-in show where I know that people can call in to me. But also what I would like is to be able to say, right, okay, those donations could actually be quite real. So we have a crystal token system within Crystal Heart Radio where people can press a donation button and actually call in and speak to you. And that donation is transferred into money. So how do we actually convert that to our creators and our hosts? Well, what we actually do is we have a wallet share system. So when you sign us up as a host, it is subscription. At the moment, we are offering a founding host offer, which join us. We are doing a 14-day free trial. Now we have various subscriptions. Now I will say this, from the technology that we're offering, I have kept them in line with the likes of the other podcasting platforms. So we are fairly distinct. However, so we've done that. So you have this wallet share system. But what you do have, and I will ask to talk to you, and obviously you will become an associate of mine because we have strong safeguarding policies. Because I've had Crystal Heart Psychics for 13 years. Now I said, well, hang on. I would love to do my show and then say, talk to me after the show if you want a more detailed and private reading. So what we do have is private psychic reading rooms. Now we have set the platform rate at £1.50 a minute. If you're in the States, that will be converted through our Stripe system. So what happens when you sign up as a host? Well, firstly, we have to check that you're over 18. Also, to be able to actually pay you, we do have ask you to go through the Stripe verification process. Now, what that means is you would have to submit your ID, but this is us making sure that you have verified that you're over 18 and that you are compliant. It also allows your account then to connect to ours, and therefore we can do automatic payouts. So the platform share, because we have to pay platform costs, is actually a 60-40 split. So basically the platform takes 60, you get 40. Now that doesn't sound like it's great, but when you compare it to other platforms that are operating in this space, I can assure you from looking at those models, you actually receive a lot less. Now I will talk about other social media platforms as well. Yes, there's fantastic discovery. Yes, you get to go on and you get to have lots of followers. When it talks into translating that into what you earn, that becomes a different scenario. So I was looking at a very large discovery platform recently, and the minimum requirements to even actually get any financial reward is 10,000 followers, and you have to have a video with over 100,000 views. That's a lot to ask, and it's a lot of content to create to even get some financial reward. So, and also, as I said, I've actually been live calling in Blog Talk Radio for many, many years, and I do see this as a live calling alternative. Also, as you can see, I'm streaming directly to YouTube, so we do have that live streaming capability. But also with that, we have a live studio where we do have live call-ins and people can join us. The app itself is a PWA app, and it's actually mobile friendly. So you can go live and actually be on your mobile phone, which is amazing. But again, what we do have is we have also communities, and we also have, as I said, the private reading rooms. And I absolutely love this. I have worked as a psychic telephone reader for many years. I own my own psychic telephone line. And sometimes, you have to log on onto your landline and you have to sit there and you have to wait for calls. The beauty with this is you can actually schedule when you're going to be available, and you can be booked. Obviously, what I would want is, if you were a Crystal Heart psychic, for you to be available. But the beauty of this is it offers a level of professionalism. And also, why can't you be booked when you're offline? Now, what we do with that is we actually send you a text to say you've got a booking. But what I wanted as a host was be able to say, actually, you can find me. I will be live shortly. And if you want a private, longer reading that may be a little bit more costly to, obviously, a lot of the callers that do call in for free, then actually you can call and I'll be available and you can have that private reading. And that private reading will be in a private video room. Now, you can choose to have that on video or you can choose to be audio. That is totally up to you. So that is how Crystal Heart Radio is actually formed. Now, also what we do have on here is we have workshops. Now, with workshops, you can hold a workshop and it would be a paid event. And again, it's a 60-40 split. So everything that you create, there is a revenue share in the platform, but there's a real wallet share as well. And that's what we're saying here on Crystal Heart Radio is bring your audience, bring your community. And obviously it gives you that facility and that platform to have that professional level booking system that you desire. And as I said, for me, I've worked as a reader for over 20 years. I've sat on a landline. I know what it feels like. And I actually wanted to, not that I'm saying it's bad, because you can go online and you can be extremely busy. And before you know it, there's 3 hours and you've done several readings for, you've been busy for all that time. So I'm not sitting here saying, oh, right. But what I am saying is this system is designed by a creator for creators. And obviously it's to bring your audience as well into this scenario. So that is how Crystal Heart Radio is. So it's nice to be able to stream this actually onto YouTube and let people know exactly what Crystal Heart Radio is. We are putting a lot of work in to make it really good for both the audience and for the hosts. And the other thing, and I'm sure many of you are aware, that obviously, what we don't understand is how many subscriptions we pay as well. So there'll be a lot of people out there paying a subscription to Zoom, then they'll be paying another subscription over here. And actually, when you look at it, you might be actually earning this particular share, but look how much you're paying out in subscriptions. And as I say, with Crystal Heart Radio, you actually do get to brand your own site. So you get to brand you, who you are. The only thing we say, and it is a huge boundary, when you are a reader on Crystal Heart Psychics as well. So therefore, we expect that same standard of conduct for our Crystal Heart Radio readers as we do for our Crystal Heart Psychic readers. So now I actually want to talk about the energy of this month, and this is where it gets really, really interesting. So we've just gone through the Lionsgate portal, and we've actually gone through a massive change. But at the moment, we've got quite a lot of astrological alignment. So we've actually got the Sun in Mercury in Virgo at the moment, communication, information, practical thinking, putting ideas into form. The Moon moving into Pisces. We've got intuition, spirituality, dreams, and emotional sensitivity. Then we've got the full moon, lunar eclipse energy building. So there's a culmination, releasing old patterns, seeing things differently, endings, and creating space for something new. Virgo and Pisces equals practical reality meets spiritual awareness. So what are you actually being asked to release? And if you actually look at the energy for the past month, we've had this huge shift where, we've had the solar eclipse, the Lionsgate portal. We've actually asked people to call in, to actually look at your old patterns and know what you're getting now. Also, if you've got that project that you've put on hold, why don't you take upon it now? Lock into your intuition, actually lock into your whole energy in the sense of, you want to release old patterns. All those things that you put on hold, what are you waiting for? On a spiritual energy, what I'm going to say is this is bringing us into letting go of what no longer serves us. And certainly we are sometimes asked to move on. We don't confuse pause with failure. Sometimes stepping back gives us clarity. Shift from forcing, allowing from doing, being, create space and new energy. Trust what is unfolding. The pause sometimes doesn't stop you, it prepares you. And we go back to manifesting. You can sit and you can ask yourself what you want in your future, but it's not until you realize who you are and how you feel, and you've actually had a chance to take stock of that situation, that you actually allow yourself to realize what you truly want. So when we come to our angel pull, we actually pulled Sandalphon today, which is the energy of joy. So the keeper of prayers, the bridge between heaven and earth. Joy as a spiritual frequency, lightness can help dissolve heaviness. Allow yourself to experience happiness. Don't make spirituality permanently serious. Joy can be part of that spiritual growth. So with that, the message is choose joy and let your spiritual authentic happiness be part of your expression. Your anchor for today is, I anchor my spirit in divine joy, allowing the healing light of Sandalphon to dissolve shadows and restore my soul to radiance peace. So I've already done a tarot pull earlier for today, for today's show. And, first and foremost, we had in our past the Chariot, which is control, willpower and determination, taking the reins with forward momentum. We focus, overcoming obstacles, but constant pushing can be exhausting. And also that question sometimes, when you can try too hard, you can be trying to control, but that's hard to control the outcome. So next we have the Hangman, which is suspension. and restriction and letting go. It's that time to pause, surrender, difficult perspective, not necessarily being stuck. And sometimes nothing needs to be done. So, what could I see differently if I was forcing it? The last card that we actually pulled was the Empress, which is nurturing abundance, creativity, and growth. So again, that creates harmony for us as well. When you think about the Empress and you've got that nurturing element, it's being at ground level, actually being in that place where you are very happy with the way things are. So it's just about that. Also, it's planting the seeds, letting things grow. So also I see it like this as well. It's actually getting your foundations in place. Now, if I was to think about it as Crystal Heart Radio, and it's quite interesting actually. Some people think, when you're building a platform, it's really easy. I will absolutely be truthful with you. It's been quite hard. I am not a software developer, but I've learned to be. And it's took nearly 6 months to build what I have built, but I'm very pleased with it. But I was in the place where I'd been hosting live call-ins for over 11 years, and I got a little bit tired of other platforms. Now, I know there's many other platforms out there, but I wanted to create that spiritual community because I did have a look at the alternatives. I really did. And there is lots of places where there's lots of talking. However, it doesn't have that community feel. Now, one thing I used to love about Blog Talk is there was a community there, and it really was. And, a lot of hosts knew each other or knew of each other. But also on top of that, there was a lot of people that would call in. I can honestly say we had many regular callers for many, many years. So again, when it comes to Crystal Heart Radio, this is somewhere where you can express yourself. You're not going to be forced into like and share, tap, tap, tap for the gifts. That is already there, built in, and it doesn't mean. Now, obviously, choosing to do a podcast or a live call-in, for us, we've done that for years. I would love to have more callers right now, but I'm also accepting of the fact that Crystal Heart Radio is in Discovery Land. But the other side of that is, I would actually say welcome. Like I said, we're not on the app stores yet, but we are a PWA app, so it can be downloaded to your phone. But also this is about collaboration. It's about a community. We do actually have a beautiful community and a member circle, so people can join and talk about spiritual things. And it's also where we can create a space for fellow associates because, being in the psychic world, it is lovely to be able to connect with other psychics and other spiritual people. So also, you're being invited to share your voice. Now, the other thing that I do want to point out about Crystal Heart Radio is, so you can do a live stream on YouTube, and we will make it so you'll be able to do live stream on Facebook and live stream on Instagram all at the same time. But what we have afterwards is pretty amazing. We have a distribution network set up of RSS feeds. So your one show, once you have, so Crystal Heart Radio itself has its own master feed. So it doesn't matter if you didn't set it up because your show would go out on our master feed. But what we do have is we actually have a feed for your show as well. And that's distributed automatically. Once you've finished and your recording is finished, you are distributed automatically to Podchaser, to Spotify, to Podcaster, also to YouTube. You'll see that mine have been distributed here as well. So there's a lot of things that have been thought about on Crystal Heart Radio, and that is to make it easier for you, the creator, and also to assist you in supporting your business. And because we have it all in one, then it makes the journey easier. And it also makes it easier for callers to find us as well. So that is what Crystal Heart Radio is. So I'm also going to talk about our platform as well, because for listeners that wish to call in, if you went to Crystal Heart Radio, we do have, some people a little bit afraid of AI and chatbots. We actually do have some chatbots which are actually quite friendly. And that just allows us just a bit of fun, really. We have a beautiful shop which we have aura camera. You can create your own tarot deck. You can go in and actually plug in what you want, and that will be created. You'll get 3 sample cards first, and then we also have birth chart and zodiac compatibility. But also what we do have in the shop is we have Crystal Heart Mind and we have Crystal Heart Academy. So, Crystal Heart Mind is actually a meditation and hypnosis, and it's the same across all platforms. It is creator led, designed by a creator for creators, which means that you can actually, create your own meditations. It obviously is chargeable as subscription, but that goes into a shop and those will be sold. Then we have Academy, where you can create your own spiritual and wellness courses. But also, I want to talk about safeguarding a little bit as well. So, in relation to safeguarding, I have made sure that that is now public facing. Now, for many, many years working as a psychic reader, the compliance has always been entertainment purposes and you must be over 18. What I have done is actually built in all the crisis lines that are necessary for us, because as psychics, we aren't a medical service, we are not a crisis service. We can support, but we will at that point have to direct anyone that we feel is quite vulnerable to the relevant appropriate services. So we have actually put that in place to ensure that we are compliant, but also that our hosts and our readers are also compliant as well, and it's safeguarding. So that is Crystal Heart Radio. And obviously also we have press that's coming up, which is Write Your Own Book. And we also have wellness, but wellness is the sister platform to radio. So wellness is more about, if for myself, for instance, I'm a CBT practitioner, I'm an NLP master practitioner, I'm a Reiki master teacher, I'm a hypnotherapist. So it's not necessarily about giving psychic readings, it's about offering guidance. So that will be in the mix as well. So we are a family. I've also created another platform called Crystal Heart Flow, which is automatic social media posting. So we have a lot that's there, and I designed it to say, well, what would I want as a psychic? What would I want as a hypnotherapist? Now, I know myself as a hypnotherapist, as a qualified hypnotherapist, what it takes to manually write your own script, to create that script, to record it, and that's a long time. So, so basically what we've done is we've used a studio. When you sign up as a creator, you will be granted access to that studio, which is assisted in you actually doing that. So are we a progressive company? Are people a little bit scared of AI right now? I say yes to that. However, I also say this, it can assist in creation. However, you shouldn't let it take over. And I can surely tell you that, because I can absolutely tell you with certainty that Live Studio broke 5 times and was many, many hours trying to create it. And the reason why is because AI decided to change something. So, however, what I do feel that I've built for everybody, for myself and also for everybody else, is that it is a great platform where you can live stream. And also this will be recorded as a podcast afterwards, and this will go out there on the RSS feeds, the various shows. So it will appear as a show actually also after I've done this live streaming. So, however, when I talk about, so topics for today really is, I was going to talk about Awaken Your Soul, which I have created and I've posted into the live studio. So, but I am actually going to just play a beautiful song that is on our soundboard right now. So I will let you listen to that and enjoy. And that actually is the beautiful soundboard. Now, what I am actually going to do, because obviously I'm exploring live streaming here, I'm actually going to have just give you a sneak peek if you're a host wanting to have a look at Crystal Heart Radio. So I'm just going to share my screen, so I think you can see that. So this is how Crystal Heart Radio operates, and as you can see, I'm actually live streaming this as we speak. So I will go into the studio, and you can see here that I have a mic on and the camera on, but also you can see the soundboard there, and I will be loading further things. Now, also, I can actually just go through this quite quickly. So we have the pricing and plans here. We have home, which is where all the shows sit, discovery, shop that I talked about. We talked about readers available. Now, when you sign up as a host, you get the broadcast studio here. And we talked about the distribution hub, the analytics, the dashboard, and obviously your host profile, which is where you name your show. But this is how Live Studio operates. Obviously, I am on a laptop tonight, but you can actually do that. You can actually do that also as on your phone. So you can see here, this is how Crystal Heart Radio works, and this is the live studio, and this is how you go on. Now, what we do say is live callers come in through that live studio. So as a host, I will see the number of listeners. Then on the listener panel, what we have is someone is listening, they can actually request to join us, and we will have that person and we can accept. You can also see there is a chat also on there. So this is actually how Crystal Heart Radio Studio looks like. And I'm really, really, really pleased that I've been able to present this to you tonight via this live stream. And as I say, if you come in as a caller, we do actually have, you can see the functionality from the listener panel. So I'm actually going to end the show tonight now. But all I'm going to say is thank you very much, and just wait for some more installments.